Hey freaks and fellow children of the fence, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is JJ, and here on my channel I discuss the stories behind rock and metal concept albums, and I of course cover a lot of Coheed and Cambria content because they are my favorite band. And we are going to be covering the No World for Tomorrow comics, the full title of the album of course being Good Apollo Unburning Star 4, Volume 2, No World for Tomorrow, or just No World for Tomorrow for short. This album came out in 2007 and it is currently 2025 and we're finally getting the comics. They are trickling in slowly through Backer Kit, and they are also available on Amazon. I will link down in the description where you can find the actual comics if you want to read them. I highly encourage that you do because they are very well done. There will be affiliate links, so I will get a tiny commission if you happen to purchase from those links. But yeah, the comic is amazing. Unfortunately, we only have issues 1 through, well, currently as I'm doing this video, we have issues 1 through 9 out right now. So I will be covering issues 1 through 8 in this video, and then I will do a part 2. So this is part 1 of the No World for Tomorrow story explanation, and I will cover the second half of the comics and the second half of the album in another video once we have the full story. So if you have not already watched my other videos on the Amory Wars content, please make sure you do that now. Caveat here, the very first videos I ever posted on my YouTube channel were covering Coheed and Cambria's Amory Wars comics and novels. So those videos, I kind of hate to, suggest that you watch them because like the first couple, like the Year of the Black Rainbow and the Second Stage Turbine Blade and even the In Keeping Secrets of Silent Earth videos are just so bad. I apologize. They are my first videos, and they're not very good. But if you can suffer through them, they have good content in them. I just don't deliver it very well at all. I apologize. That was like 6 years ago or something that I did those videos. But that is all to say that if you have not watched those other videos, or if you have not read anything in the Amory Wars universe, any of the other comics, you need to, otherwise you'll be completely lost in this video. You'll be totally not understanding who and what is going on. So start with, you can start with Second Stage Turbine Blade, or you can start with Year of the Black Rainbow. I have a video playlist of all the comics where you can find them. I'll drop all my Coheed content playlists down in the description for you to watch those, and also at the end of this video I'll also link some things up here as well. So click away now. I don't want to give away any spoilers if you are not clued into the whole entire Amory Wars universe. And again, all the links to the comics will be down below as well. I highly encourage that you go check them out. Before we get started, make sure you hit subscribe if you haven't already, and feel free to join my Metalhead community. From there you get access to bonus content and a lot of extra Coheed and Cambria content as well, and it's totally free. Link is down in the description. So for this story explanation, I'm sorry I'm taking so long up front here, but for this story explanation, I know you guys really like it when I go track by track with the album versus just explaining the story outright and not connecting it to the songs. But the problem is that a lot of the songs relate to different parts of the story throughout the comics, so it's kind of hard to nail down exactly what track belongs to what part of the story, because a lot of the times one single track will relate to multiple parts of the story. But I wanted to give you guys a track-by-track explanation because I feel like that is easier to digest and a little bit easier to imagine in your head as you're listening to the album. So I did my best with this. Just know that this is my personal interpretation of how the songs connect to the storyline. I'm sure many other people have different interpretations, and I'll also let you know that these songs are going to be out of order from the order that they are on the album. So yeah, the track listings are a little jumbled, but it makes sense with the story, at least in my interpretation. So that's all to say, this might be a little bit of a longer video, so settle in, and let's get started. We pick up basically right where we left off in Good Apollo Unburning Star 4, From Fear Through the Eyes of Madness. Again, if you haven't watched that video, I'll link that up here. Or if it's just been a while since you've read that comic or been up to date on that storyline, go check that out real quick and get caught up. And again, spoiler alert, there's lots of spoilers coming in this video, so if you've not read those comics or listened to my story explanation, go do that now. Anyway, we pick back up where Ryder, aka the creator, the god of this universe, is dead. Ambelina is dead, Claudio and Chase are in hiding. Inferno died, but right before he died, he downloaded his consciousness into Ameo Deftenwolf. Again, if you're already lost with all these characters, just go do a quick catch up on my my summary videos. We are going to start off with track 1, The Reaping, which is really just, more of an intro track. And here we kind of set the scene of what's going on in this set of comics. Ryan's men think that they've killed Claudio, aka the Crowing, but they're actually looking at Ryder's body, because Ryder and Claudio are kind of like one and the same. They look very similar, but it's actually Ryder's body that they're looking at, not Claudio. And this huge fissure appears in the sky. This like big white streak appears in the sky randomly. Willem Ryan thinks that this is an auspicious sign confirming that he has a right to rule. He's excited about having killed the Crowing and proven the prophecy of the Gaunsguard, if that's how you say that, proven that prophecy wrong. Meanwhile, Chase and Claudio, Chase aka the Visual, Claudio aka the Crowing, are burying Ambelina's body in this cave. And they don't know that Ryder, aka the Creator, is dead. So that's just kind of where we begin things. We're kind of setting the scene for some ominous things to begin happening with this big white streak in the sky. We know that's probably not a good sign. And so that's how I've connected the beginning intro track to the beginning of this comic series. We then jump to track 7, Gravemakers and Gunslingers. So Gibney, if you don't remember, Gibney is kind of like this Narrows leader. He's a Western zombie guy. He arrives at the cave where Chase and Claudio are burying Ambelina, and Chase and Claudio are surrounded. But just when they think there's no hope left, General Crom shows up with Ryan's forces of the Red Army and challenges Gibney. And here's where we have this kind of westerny feeling, kind of like shootout that goes on between General Crom and the Red Army and Gibney and his Narrows zombies. While the two are distracted fighting each other, Chase and Claudio escape through a Willing Well portal that Chase creates, because Chase is the Visual, so she is able to create these Willing Well portals. And so they jump through this Willing Well to escape. Meanwhile, General Crom defeats Gibney and discovers Ambelina's grave. So after discovering Ambelina's body, Crom decides to take her body to Ryan, and he informs Willem Ryan that Claudio is actually still alive and not dead. We then go to track 2, No World for Tomorrow. Chase and Claudio get spit out of the Willing Well into this kind of ocean storm place, and they realize that the Willing Well took them to a time in the past. And so they start to wonder if maybe they could use these Willing Wells to time travel to defeat Ryan. Chase and Claudio decide that, they need to find a place in time where Ryan was most vulnerable, and it is there where they have the most likely chance of defeating him. So this might mean messing with the timeline a little bit, but they decide that, it's worth the risk. Meanwhile, we have Mayo/Inferno, of course, Inferno being inside of Mayo Deftinwolf's body. Inferno is conferring with Willem Ryan, and Ryan explains how he thinks this white streak in the sky means that God, or the Creator, is now dead, and now Ryan believes he is now the official God of Heaven's Fence. Now, all Ryan needs to do is find Chase so that he has control of the Willing Wells. And so the flies that Ryan set out at the end of the previous comic, they've, taken over, they're stinging everyone, infecting them, killing them. And so when a person gets stung by these flies, they die. Their souls remain trapped in the keywork, and they're forced to be loyally bound to Ryan for all of eternity within the keywork. So Ryan's plan is to fuse with the keywork and gain ultimate power through all these souls that he has enslaved to him. And so the whole time Ryan is kind of divulging his evil little plan, Mayo/Infernal is holding some kind of grenade-looking thing, and we all think he's going to try and off Ryan right there and then. But once Inferno learns about this plan with the flies, he decides to abandon the plan of killing Ryan right then and there, because if he does that, he knows it's a suicide mission. The whole Red Army will come crashing down upon him. He needs to stop these flies from going off-world and infecting other planets. So he abandons his plan to kill Ryan and goes off to begin stopping the distribution of the flies. We then flip back to Chase and Claudio as they pop out of the Willing Well and find themselves in a high school. We do a lot of Willing Well popping and traveling around time and places in this comic. They go through another Willing Well and arrive outside of a supermarket where Claudio sees his mother. And here we kind of have a few lyrics from No World for Tomorrow, where this crazy guy in the parking lot is kind of raving about the end of the world. And throughout this entire set of comics, we see this like white streak in the sky being compared to the black rainbow that was once there many years ago. So if you haven't read the Year of the Black Rainbow novel, that is linked down below. This comic brings everything full circle, so you kind of really need to know the whole scope of the Amory Wars content in order to really connect all the dots with this. I don't have the time here to really go into depth about, what happened in the Year of the Black Rainbow or explain all the characters. I'm just assuming that you kind of are familiar with them, just for brevity's sake. Moving on to track number 6, we have Mother Superior. This song was, of course, written for Josh Eppard at the time, but within the Amory Wars concept, I believe that this song is talking about Ryan and what he did to become Supreme Tri-Mage. So here we learn a little bit more about Ryan's backstory. And so what he did to begin the Mage Wars all those years ago was there was multiple mages at the time with lots of power, Mage Favor being one of them. Mage Favor was working to accomplish time travel, and Ryan was working on it as well, but Ryan didn't make as much progress before Favor had mastered it. And so out of jealousy, Ryan murdered Mage Favor and took over his fortress, which is why Ryan now resides in Favor House Atlantic. And so now Ryan goes back to the place where he killed all these mages, and he uses the ashes of the dead mages to locate Chase, because he wants her Willingwell powers. So his plan is to, pull this big grand time travel scheme and then use Ambelina's blood to restore himself afterward, because Pride's blood apparently is very potent, even, after that Pride is dead, and it has a lot of properties that could restore his power. So that's his plan. Meanwhile, Chase and Claudio pop out of another Willingwell and arrive in the past at one of the final battles during the Mage Wars. We see Ryan going into battle to secure his position as Supreme Tri-Mage. Meanwhile, Chase and Claudio get caught in the battle, and Claudio's powers begin to fail right as Ryan arrives on the scene. And so we flip to present time. We learn Ryan has used the ashes of the other mages, like I said, to time travel and locate where Chase and Claudio are during the Mage Wars. So it's kind of present day Ryan coming to meet present day Claudio and Chase in the past, if that makes sense. So both Claudio and Chase's powers are kind of going in and out. Ryan gains the upper hand. Ryan's just about to kill Claudio, but Claudio begs Chase to escape through the Willingwell, but instead she decides to save him. Ryan wins. Both Chase and Claudio lay unmoving at his feet as he steps through the Willingwell. So this whole Mother Superior song, I believe, is mostly aimed at Ryan and his origins and how he just continues to be this rogue rabbit that needs to be reeled in, needs to realize his own mistakes. And of course, he is the villain of our story, so he's probably not going to realize any of that. Anyway, that takes us into track 5, The Running Free. So this song, I believe, is about the Mage Wars. These non-believers, aka the rebels, versus Ryan and his Red Army. So we last left off, Ryan walked through the Willingwell, not sure where it would lead at all. It ends up that Willingwell happened to lead to the real world, our human Earth world, the world of their creator, writer is from. Again, if you don't understand what I'm talking about, you need to get caught up on the last series of comics from Good Apollo. So detectives are kind of poking around through the crime scene of Ryder's house and reading this manuscript that he has, he was writing about Heaven's Fence. All of a sudden, a Willingwell opens up and Ryan kind of strides through asking, if this is the house of God. This kind of has nothing to do with, the whole song that I'm talking about. And it has not a lot to do with the actual story plot, but I just thought it was like a really cool scene. Anyway, Ryan, quite disappointed, leaves quickly and returns to where Chase and Claudio are on the other side of the Willingwell. Both Claudio and Chase are just getting to their feet, and Ryan is about to kill them when a bunch of rebels, aka non-believers, attack Ryan. So Ryan is down, and the battle ensues between the non-believers and the Red Army, and Chase and Claudio are able to escape the crossfire by hopping through another Willingwell, only for Claudio to realize his powers are now gone. So I think the Running Free song is kind of like it's kind of like a battle song between, the ideology of the non-believers versus Ryan and his Red Army. We then get to track 4, Feathers, and oh my god, how many years have we waited to figure out what the hell this song is about? I know I've been waiting since 2007 to figure out what this song is about, because it's clearly like a love song, but there's so much more to it. This one was kind of hard to nail down what the story exactly is that relates to this song, but I believe that the song Feathers is about Nuo and Ambelina at the same time. So of course Nuo is mentioned in the song, so we kind of already knew that it had something to do with his old paramour, but I'll explain in a few minutes how it relates to Ambelina. But So we last left off, Chase and Claudio are jumping through the Willing Well to escape the battle of the Mage Wars, and they arrive in this strange plane of existence where Claudio's powers don't work. Chase's powers still seem to be working, but she's growing very, very tired. Each time she opens up a Willing Well, it gets more and more difficult for her. The two look around and realize that they are in the white split in the sky, that giant fissure that I was talking about. This figure appears with a dog in tow, and we realize it's Nuo and Apollo. So Nuo explains that she is just kind of this figment conjured by Claudio's imagination in this weird realm of existence where it's kind of the future that they're in, filled with a multitude of possibilities. So Nuo explains that the creator is dead, Ryder is dead, and if someone doesn't step up to take on the job, Heaven's Fence will die. So she's kind of, putting it in Claudio's hands like, hey, do you want to take on this responsibility? Everyone's dead no matter what, but you could give it the old college try. So then we flip to what Ryan is doing at the time. He just got done, with his little time travel thing that he did using the ashes of the dead mages, and now he's very drained of his powers, but he plans to return back to House Atlantic to drain Ambelina's body to restore his energy. The lyrics of this song, like hide your feathers, I believe refers to Ambelina. So Ambelina, of course, did have feathers at one point, just like all the prize, like as in pictured in my shirt here. But of course she did let her wings burn so that she could go help Claudio with his fate. But I think that lyric, hide your feathers, refers to Ambelina and how she needs to hide from Willem Ryan. And I believe the lyric, he's coming home for you, refers to Ryan coming home to House Atlantic, where he plans to use her body to restore his energy. So, and also there is like this great scene within the comic where we see Claudio looking at Nuo and she kind of transforms into Ambelina. So there is this sort of symbolism between Nuo and Ambelina and how they're both representative of hope for Claudio and chances not taken and that kind of thing. Something that he wished he could do over probably. So that's my take on the song Feathers. Moving on, we get to track 8, Justice and Murder. In this section of the story, Claudio tells Chase that, he knows an end has come. Heaven's Fence is doomed. All he can do is try and make it so that Ryan doesn't use the keywork and all of the souls suffering in it to his own end. He wants to set the souls that are chained to Ryan in the afterlife, set them free. He decides he must destroy the keywork to set the souls free and therefore take away Ryan's power. But if he destroys Star 4, then all the keywork will come undone. But how can he do this without his powers? Because his powers just left him now that Ryder is dead. Ryder being the driving force between Claudio and his powers. So Claudio has no powers. He's like, how am I supposed to accomplish all this if I'm now just a mortal man? He and Chase decide that he needs to seek out his parents in the past. Of course, Claudio's parents being Coheed and Cambria. So Chase and Claudio go back in time to Paris, Earth, at the time that the Monstar virus was activated within Coheed. So Chase is running on fumes now. She's created way too many Willing Wells. Her body seems like it's beginning to give out, but she is able to open a well to Star 7, where Claudio sees that his parents have shot off to, and so they are about to go through the Willing Well to get to Star 7 when Claudio is bitten by a fly just before they enter the well. On the other side of the portal, they find Coheed all monstered out and about to battle Cambria, who has also been activated by the Monstar virus as well, and the two are about to go head to head. So the song Justice and Murder, I think, refers to killing the keywork, destroying the keywork, destroying Heaven's Fence. It's already going to die anyway, so the only justice that he can bring to the worlds is to set free these souls in the afterlife. So that's kind of where the story leaves off in issue 8. I did read issue 9 that just came out a couple days ago, but I will be covering that in my next part 2 video. But there's also a side story that kind of takes place during all of this that's going on between Claudio and Ryan and Chase. There's a B story, and I saved it for last because I feel like it's a smaller section of the story, but it's still very interesting. And I saved track 3, The Hound of Blood and Rank, for this section, this B story section. And I believe this song is this new character, Dr. Archmaker, speaking about or to Inferno/Mayo. So we go to Dr. Archmaker's lab throughout this series of comics, and Dr. Archmaker is kind of this like mad scientist guy working for Ryan. He is crafting a deadly team called the Wolfcon team. And so of his like specimens he's been working on, he collects all these different robots, cyborgs, not really sure what to call them, people with modifications. I guess they'd technically be like cyborgs, or full-on robots, or iRobots. Anyway, he's been collecting them and he's been tinkering with them and creating this like deadly, Suicide Squad type of force. And one of his female specimens breaks free. So while trying to find the escaped robot, Dr. Archmaker decides to wake up specimen number 4 that he salvaged from Silent Earth many years ago, and he's been working on this specimen for the longest amount of time. Well, come to find out, it's Al the Killer. So if you remember Al the Killer from way earlier in the series, like I said, everything comes full circle in this, conclusion to the story. Claudio and Chandra have really drawn on all the different things that they've brought into the storyline throughout this whole decades-long journey, and I think that's really cool. But I'm really happy to see the return of Al the Killer, and it makes sense why we have Al the Killer starring in a couple of newer Coheed songs, in the music videos at least. Anyway, sorry. And so Al is like newly modified. I don't know if he's even has memories of his old self, but he's still considered the killer. And so Dr. Archmaker puts him on the task of finding this mini robot. Eventually, the crazy doctor regains control of his specimens, and this inspires him to wake up the whole team to go and find Mayo/Inferno. So while Chase and Claudio and Ryan have been going at this main plot line, Mayo/Inferno has been going behind the scenes, and so Mayo/Inferno arrives at Dr. Duvine's lab, Dr. Duvine being the man who created the flies, and Dr. Duvine kind of finds out that Mayo is wanted for treason, and so Mayo then has to go about trying to explain that he's not actually Mayo Deftinwolf, he's Inferno. But meanwhile, at Dr. Archmaker's lab, we come to find out that Dr. Archmaker is one of the scientists who added mods to Mayo Deftinwolf. So the doctor still has the power to remotely activate and deactivate some of Mayo's sensors, and so he does so and sets his Wolfcon pack on tracking down Mayo Deftinwolf/Inferno. And so the Hound of Blood and Rank, I believe, refers to Mayo, but really it's Mayo with Inferno inside him, if that makes sense. Anyway, so that is everything from issues 1 through 8 in the No World for Tomorrow comic series, and that is tracks 1 through 8 in the album. So I know it's a little bit out of order, but we ended up on track 8 and on issue 8 of the comics, and I believe the next 4 comics are going to be covering the 5 incomplete songs that we get at the end of the album. I already read issue number 9, but I'm going to be saving that for part 2 of this video. Again, this is just my personal interpretation of how these songs integrate into the story, vice versa. I'm sure many of you have alternate opinions, alternate theories. Please drop all of that down in the comments. But at least now we are finally getting some answers. Finally, I'm so excited to see the end of this comic series so that we finally learn how Heaven's Fence gets destroyed, how things end with Claudio. We're finally getting answers, and I'm very excited about it. And I love how they're drawing back characters and story plot lines and things all the way from the very beginning of the comic series to kind of tie into this grand finale. So it's very well done in my opinion. Hats off to Claudio and Chandra for crafting this. I know it took a long time, but I totally understand. Like, comic books are so expensive to create, which is why I have not created any. But yeah, it's been many years, but I think it's definitely paid off. Anyway, again, check out my other videos if you need to get caught up on the story, or better yet, read the comics yourself. Again, links to the comics are down in the description, affiliate links, so I get a tiny commission if you happen to buy anything from there. Vaxis 3 is coming out in just a few days. I am very, very excited. I will be covering that story as soon as I possibly can get my hands on the storybook. So last Vaxis release, I know it was kind of post-COVID times and shipping was kind of crazy, but it took forever for me to get my Vaxis box set. So I really, fingers crossed that the shipping is, goes smoother this time, because I really need to get my box set before I go on my maternity leave. Because yeah, baby boy is coming in less than a month. So really hoping to cover that story before I take a break from this channel. But I will be uploading some pre-recorded videos in the meantime. But yeah, everyone hope that I get my box set soon. so that I can talk about the story, and I also wanted to do kind of like a live unboxing video maybe. Anyway, just so much exciting Coheed stuff going on this year. Leave all of your thoughts, comments, ideas, anything you want to talk about Coheed related down in the comments. I might not get to responding to them or reading them for a few months if I'm on maternity leave, but I will do my best to read all of them and to respond to the ones that I can. Okay, sorry, that was a lot of really fast talking for this entire video. Make sure you subscribe and hit the little bell notification so you get notified whenever I put out part 2 of this video. Yeah, make sure you join my Metalhead community if you want to get bonus content and all that good stuff. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Till next time.